what is happening? Hope everyone is doing well. We have a Starbucks Grande Blonde Latte. I want to chat about automate, delegate, remove. Today, I want to chat about mindset. Today, I want to chat about becoming a lifelong learner. Today, we are talking about sales processes. So we're going to entitle these live sessions Coffee with Cody. Good day. Hope everyone's doing well. I'm fired up. Got out of a really long meeting with our team. Lots happening right now. Thank you for tuning in with Coffee with Cody. If this is your first time here, I want to say thank you. We really do want to say thank you. Really appreciate your attention. Coffee with Cody was really birthed out of just wanting to provide massive value back to the business community, the entrepreneurial community. We talk all things marketing, sales, branding, personal development, all that good stuff. Really, the goal is to get the learnings that I've learned from all the CEOs that we have interviewed, all the entrepreneurs that we interviewed on the Studio PTPO podcast, get all that information, absorb it, get it out to the people that need it. And today I want to chat about content creation because our brand, Studio PTPO, for those that don't know, up there, I guess it's not actually in any of the branding right now, but our company, Studio PTPO, our tagline is "Tell Your Story." And I had a really good conversation with a potential client yesterday, and we were talking about lead generation, we were talking about sales, and all this good stuff. And when it comes to content creation, it comes to telling your story, people are paralyzed by taking action because they are unsure of where to start. And today I want to give you some key tactics, some key tips on how to get started. And I really want to encourage you to stop overthinking things because unless you start, there's no way to evaluate what works and what doesn't work. So we created a tool called the 60-day social sprint. I want to go through kind of a high-level overview on how to actually create content and kind of like what I do on a day-to-day basis and for clients, but also starting to do a lot more content for myself with Coffee with Cody. And we're just going to dive into it. So thank you for tuning in to Coffee with Cody. So have you ever really struggled creating content? I know for myself, when I first started in the industry, as far as marketing, I really struggled with creating content, coming up with ideas, coming up with just ways to tell my story, and really understanding. Once I understood how simple it was, and once I understood the process of actually creating content, I started realizing that, I just needed to do more of the things that I like telling. And doing more of the content that I like creating. And content creation, I think, is overglossed, especially now more than ever. But it's changed over this whole pandemic thing because people are doing more Zoom meetings and creating content a lot differently, just trying to get their message out more than anything. So when you're creating content, my biggest encouragement when you're starting out is this might seem super simple to start, but you just got to start. And, I've said this over the last little while about, finding the way that you communicate best on the platform and then put out content. And I want to dive a little bit deeper into what that means, because really early on when I said, tell your story, I think people resonate with that. Oh yeah, I need to tell my story, especially when an entrepreneur, the reason that we say that is because we know that people buy from people they know, they like, they trust. There's no doubt behind that. People buy from people they know, they like, they trust. So when you tell your story, you build authority in the online space, but B, the other element is you build relationships with people. And that's, oftentimes you'll hear me say that social media was not created as a marketing tool. It was created as a means of social network. And when you tell your story online, you give a little bit of yourself, you create content, you're building relationships with people. It's kind of like a giant water cooler. Like my business partner, Neil, constantly talks about social media. Is social media has become a water cooler where you can have conversations with people in the online space, tell your story, listen to other people's stories. And the biggest encouragement I want to have is, we're going to go into a few different things today, but the biggest encouragement I want to have is find the medium that you communicate the best. So for some people, it might be written. So maybe actually writing, not actually writing, but typing. For some people, it might be an audio podcast. So using tools like Anchor, or using a tool Buzzsprout to, or buying a little mic like this that you can create a podcast to tell your story. Maybe it's interviewing people on a podcast, or it might be video. Video is a great way to actually communicate your message because you can actually take the video and similar to what we do. We take all these podcasts and we put them on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, all those places. So it's a great way. But the best place you need to start is obviously you need to start. But the other element is and the encouragement I would give you is to find the way you communicate best on the platform and start there. So if you're a really good writer, rather than starting a Medium blog, take that content that you would write on Medium or take the content you're writing on another platform and post it on Facebook. Long form copy, if you tell your story and you're a good writer, works really well on Facebook. So that would be my encouragement. If you're writing a blog or if you have a desire to be a writer, take that content, post it directly to Facebook. I've tested a lot of different things. A lot of different things work. Some things don't work. And, again, it comes down to storytelling. So how do you tell stories best? When I started creating content, I started a brand called Create Your Purpose. And I made a lot of mistakes really early on. But if I didn't make those mistakes with creating content, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be running the agency I'm running. I wouldn't have the team that I have without taking that first step and making those mistakes. I started a brand called Create Your Purpose, and it was all a lifestyle brand, and it was an element of who I was, but I made a lot of content creation mistakes where it's like, if you go, I laugh at a lot of the content that I created back then because it was, to be honest with you, it was kind of terrible when I first started in comparison to kind of the level of production quality that we have now, but we're a lot further along. But had I had not started and had I had not again, starting a podcast, you don't need a crazy mic setup. You can go out and buy a Shure SM58, they're $100, just a microphone and just talking to that with with the camera. I had a GoPro when I first started, and I remember one of my first podcasts that I recorded was with a GoPro. It was with one of my good friends who was a client, Bob Govro. I put the GoPro in the middle of the room. We sat there, we chatted about how he was working with the Tony Robbins Association at the time, and we built a relationship. The biggest thing I would say about creating content, and if you're really early on, if you're a real estate agent listening to this, is the relationships you build through interviewing people is just absolutely phenomenal. And I really owe the fact that I took the leap and I asked the question of, can I interview you? Can I have you on our podcast? Has opened up a lot of doors over the last couple of years to build relationships. And that's really what creating content can do. And you could interview people you could interview and write about them in blog format, so in writing format. You could interview people video format or podcast format. So it's almost creating your mini talk show. But when I first started doing this, as I look back, there was literally a GoPro sitting in the middle of the room. The audio sucked. And the better one was when I first met Neil. We sat inside of Gertie's and I didn't know how to set up the mic. Literally the mic was probably across the room. Neil will remember this. And we did the podcast, and I was over the top, and I was trying to imitate people as much as I could because they were already doing it. And maybe not everything was true to who I was, but again, you just have to start. And entrepreneur, business owner listening to this, you don't have to overcomplicate content. You could literally take a photo of your team and tell a story about how somebody helped you on your team did something really great. And a lot of times what I'll do is I will actually batch process a lot of my ideas on a Sunday. So kind of shifting into this where it's okay, I can say just get started, but how do you do that? If you're listening to this and you want a tool on how to get started, we have a tool called the 60-day social sprint. Just comment the word social below and I'll get you a free access to a copy of the social sprint. But the biggest encouragement I would say to you is as you're going through and as you're creating content, A, you have to start, but B, you also have to have a plan. And this is something I learned over the last couple of years about, writing down topics, maybe taking a Sunday and starting to batch process your content so that you have a fluid understanding of the content you're creating. So, you have a bunch of different ideas. Generally with these podcasts, I generally talk about marketing, sales, branding, or I'll talk about personal development. So usually the 4 elements of the things that I actually know, or I've studied and got the information so that I can get it to people that need it. A lot of the stuff that I teach or a lot of things that I talk about are either A, from experience, or B, they're from somebody else's experience. So I've done an interview with a CEO, an entrepreneur, and I'm just taking that information, I'm syndicating it to get it to you. As far as content, we've been content creators, and I want to give a shout out to somebody that has really taken my ideas. There's 2 people I want to give a shout out to. Have really taken my ideas and kind of ran with them. So one of my first clients really early on, Shahanda, I said to him, I'm like, we need to start getting the quickest way that you can really make a name for yourself is starting to interview and do videos around different people in the industry and kind of be known as the expert. So he listened to me, we started doing videos, and he's continued to do videos with us. And he's, his videos kind of got in front of a bunch of people, and he built his name, and now he's built his business, and now a lot of people know him, and he's connected to different things, and he's constantly telling a story. Like, he's a part of the PYBEA, like he's a coach there. So we've done videos on that. We've done videos with mortgage brokers. We've done videos with home inspectors. We've done videos with so many different types of people. And that's essentially what he's doing, is he's hacking the attention of the other person's network. So when they share his video, what happens is he's then being, his brand is then being exposed to that other network. So it's super strategic. The other person I want to give a shout out to is Wade Hamlin, one of my recent clients. We did a case study program, helped him with his lead generation, did all that. We did all that stuff together. But really early on during this whole pandemic, he started a PTBO COVID to go. So essentially, like food to go rather, where he essentially was interviewing restaurant owners. Was doing it for free. I think he has like 2,000 people in his Facebook group now, and he just started creating content around restaurants. So now, even though he's a real estate agent, people equate him now to the restaurant guy, and it's so easy to build your brand if you just put out content. And this really goes for any real estate agent listening to this. I'll give you another example. Andrew Perry is crushing it. We're using a lot of his content for, he creates a ton of crazy content even prior to working with us. But now we're taking that content and getting it in front of people, building a relationship. But those are 3 great examples of clients that really adopted the content marketing strategy and the tell your story strategy, and actually, either interviewing people or creating content. And really it just came through either video, audio, or written. And that's really, at the end of the day, is like, you need to find the way that you communicate best and then produce the content, and then decide what portions of your life you want to tell it. There's people who have family who probably don't post pictures of their family because they don't want their family on social media. So you have to define within your world as an entrepreneur, what part of your life are you going to show? Now, obviously, speaking, the more that you share, the deeper the relationship with the people that are potentially going to work with you. That's true, but you just have to think about, what do I want to share and what don't I want to share? And that's really what good storytelling comes down to, where I look at somebody like, my business partner, Neil, who shares a lot online, but he's building relationships. So social media, if you use it and you ask questions and you listen and you engage with people wonder why they're not building relationships, or why they're not creating more, why they're not getting more clients on social media. It's like, you're probably not listening enough. And I listen a lot when I ask a question, I absorb that information. I'm like, okay, how can I build a better relationship with this person online? And that's really the encouragement I want to give you today, is like, ask more questions. Use social media as a tool to essentially create like a focus group. That's really what you do. That's why I ask questions. It's a focus group to get an idea of what actually interests the people that I come in contact with. Again, social media was not created as a marketing tool. It's created as a means of social network. So actually communicate, actually have conversations with people. Use it as a tool, yes, for marketing. It's great. If you're an entrepreneur, I highly recommend you produce more content. But the best thing that you can do is listen, is have conversations with people. And that's really my encouragement. We have a tool called 60-Day Social Sprint. If you're just hopping onto the live for the first time, you really just want to provide massive value to you. If you're an entrepreneur, just comment the word social below. I'll get you free access to that. I really just appreciate your time more than anything. I'm live inside the Studio PTPO Marketing Hacks group. It's a group full of entrepreneurs that are growing and scaling in the online space, and just like learning and growing and pushing themselves. And my encouragement is, if you're looking for a community of people where we produce content on a consistent basis, we connect with each other, go to the Studio PTPO Marketing Hacks group, and check a look. And if you're a real estate agent, and I put together a masterclass, this is the last thing I want to mention, I put together a masterclass, and the masterclass is just around lead generation secrets for real estate agents. If you're a real estate agent, comment the word masterclass below, and I'll give you access to the link so you can register for that. Registration closes on Friday. Thank you once again for tuning into the studio. No, this is not the studio. Thank you once again for tuning into Coffee with Cody. I get mixed up. We have 2 podcasts. Really appreciate your time. I hope you got a lot of value out of this. I hope you take action. If you take action, you start creating content, whether it be video, audio, written. Let me know how it goes. Throw it in the comment section below. Keep me in the loop. I hope you got a ton of value out of today's Coffee with Cody, and we'll see you soon.